And so we were warned, but even the wildest imagination couldn't have dreamed of what was ahead. A time of crisis, but we never gave in. A time for endurance, and we did endure, together. Thousands were without power for days, many without water and heat. We were firmly tested, and we passed.
From Channel 5 News, this is a special Focus 5 report on the ice storm of '98, Maine under ice. Now, here are Don Colson and Mindy Hegeman.
Good evening, everyone. Never in the history of our state have we ever seen anything like it.
The ice storm of '98 started early Monday morning, January 5th. A slow, steady rain glazed the roads and the trees.
On Tuesday, the rain continued, and it continued to freeze, too. Meteorologists warned it was just the beginning.
This in Alabama and Louisiana, as much as a half a foot to a foot of rain down there. That moisture is streaming northward now.
Just got some word that apparently they've lost part of their power in Brewer.
You don't got to go anywhere, don't go anywhere.
They are sanding, but this weather just keeps hitting them. They get out there, they sand, they plow, and then we get
plow operator Danny Bigelow went home yesterday just about long enough to get 8 hours sleep and turned right around and went back to work today.
You get pretty tired of riding around all night?
Yeah, it's going around in circles a lot.
There are reports of scattered power outages throughout the state, and the ice buildup on the trees is wreaking havoc on the power lines as well.
Central Maine, things are just a mess. They are in most of the state. We would normally call our Central Maine Bureau Waterville, but the power is out there. We've been victimized like everyone else.
I am on one of the working phone lines. The city of Waterville has been in the dark since a little after 1 o'clock this morning. Several city streets are closed because there are so many trees and power lines down.
Kind of an eerie feeling out there, Craig.
It is. I haven't seen it this dark in a while. All the street lights are out, Jim, and it started off really as a trickle, but then it turned into a, well, the floodgates have opened. As you can see, the power line above me here is just covered with ice, and that's the major problem.
I think I need to find a children's book and look for activities, or else I'm going to go insane.
Like most every parent in Maine, Kelly Driggers is spending the third storm day in a row home with her children.
Now we have no power, so we're playing games.
And Kelly has some more tricks up her sleeve to save the day.
Bake cookies, make lots of popcorn, and rent videos.
Susan Falloon, Channel 5 News, Bangor.
Mindy's not back yet, not able to get back yet because of the storm, like most other people, tied up. And that is, of course, the news of this day. Power outages reported all over this state right now. Thousands of people without power. The governor has declared our state an emergency state this afternoon. A state of emergency exists, he says, because of all of the power outages. Key emergency personnel have been mobilized to help with evacuation. Clearly one of the worst storms to ever hit the state of Maine. Trees are iced up, limbs are snapping like toothpicks, knocking power lines down, blocking roads.
We talked with Bill Cohen of Bangor Hydro a little while ago, and he says help is on the way.
One thing that we have done has been in touch with the utility that we helped out last year, Com Electric in Massachusetts, and they have 12 crews on their way up here to help us.
After being pelted for 5 straight days by rain, freezing rain, sleet, hail, and now ice, the Elm City is in a state of emergency this afternoon. Maine General Hospital is operating on backup power. Trees scatter city streets, power lines are downed, Waterville residents are without power, even the emergency shelter is without heat and electricity.
I remember in '69 we had a nice storm that lasted about a day, and it was pretty much like this, but this is unreal.
Exploding transformers lit up the night sky, causing even more problems. The ice buildup on the trees and the wires just doesn't seem to let up. As soon as crews secure one set, another is down and obstructing roadways.
Good evening, Red Cross.
The Red Cross is working statewide to provide shelter and food to those who have no place else to turn. The Red Cross has set up more than 30 shelters across the state, including the one here at the Air National Guard Base in Bangor. So far, 75 to 100 people have arrived, and they're expecting more as the night goes on.
But if you do have to leave, there are numerous shelters across the state. Here's a list of some of them, of course, in Bangor.
Thursday night, it was bad, we knew that, but it would be Friday morning when we really began to understand the extent of the damage. Central Maine Power reported more than 250,000 customers with no electricity. Bangor Hydro reported well over 50,000. well over half the population of our state. Channel 5 News interrupted programming with a special report.
This is a special Storm Watch report from Channel 5 News. The ice storm of '98.
Fire crews mopping up at the remains of a home in Newburgh right now. Early this morning when the fire crews were called out to Frank Longstreet's home on Route 9.
Tasha Jamerson was out on the street earlier today talking with workers. Tasha?
That's right, Mindy. The word of the day is hectic for emergency crews. It's a virtual maze of mess out here. The roads are an obstacle course with the downed tree limbs and power lines.
They're reporting this morning they saw fireballs exploding from downed power lines. They believe that those fires erupted when power was turned back on this morning. Then things went black as the power cut out again.
Don, what's the last 24 hours been like for your department?
Well, to say it's been extremely busy would be an understatement. Mostly we're chasing reports of live wires that are down, traffic hazards. We're checking the well-being of elderly people that people have called and are concerned about.
CMP Central Maine Power is reporting 275,000 homes without power today. The same's going on for Bangor Hydro, right?
Yes, Bangor Hydro officials are calling this the worst natural disaster to hit their operation in 30 years. Power is out from Orono clear into the down east area.
We have another little burst of moisture headed in our direction, and with temperatures again still below freezing.
Actually, we have 18 crews in all from the Commonwealth Electric Company. They arrived in Bangor very early this morning, just in time actually to see the power go out where they're staying at the Ramada Inn. Bangor Hydro is sending all that extra help to the Ellsworth and Machias areas where they really need it.
Are you prepared to be here for a few days if you have to?
Well, we've got enough clothes for at least a week.
Trees have been falling on trailers on the park and wires are coming down with them.
Well, I'm from Old Town area, so that's been out for a couple hours now.
I think so, Chris. I'm not concerned about lightning and thunder and that type of thing, but just the gusty winds ahead of those thunderstorms. If they hold together...
By then, most of us were in the dark, at home. For many of us, it was the beginning of a long ordeal.
We'll continue with the events of Friday, January 9th in just a moment.
The most I remember is that my whole family had to come and take showers. I remember that. We all had to share.
Beale College wants committed, mature men and women for their criminal justice program. Focusing on two areas, law enforcement and conservation law enforcement, this two-year program prepares you for a career as a police officer, conservation officer, or game warden. Learn conservation and environmental law, criminal law, and more through classroom courses and field training. Call Beale College today to learn more about their criminal justice program. Beale College, where careers take root and futures grow.
At Bangor's Big One, Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle, our interest is in your best interest. During Beacon's Great Rate 98, Beacon offers you an unbeatable 1.9% financing on all new Oldsmobiles, including Oldsmobile Cutlass, Intrigue, 88s, Regency, Aurora, Silhouette, and Bravada. 1.9% financing for a limited time only. Hurry, save thousands of dollars in interest charges with 1.9% financing during Beacon's Great Rate 98. Going on now at Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle in Bangor. Don't bring much money. You won't need it.
All rooms with spectacular ocean views. An invitation from our indoor pool. Come in or relax in our jacuzzi. Nothing to do but enjoy. The Belfast Comfort Inn. And you. 3 days, 2 nights, only $99. What are you waiting for? The Belfast Comfort Inn. Call us.
Whether the weather is hot or it's not, the people at Hammond Lumber Company and the Owens Corning Company can help you keep up. With special services from Hammond and fiberglass insulation from Owens Corning. Hammond offers free estimating and expert design help, plus a huge inventory of Owens Corning and free delivery of your order, usually within 24 hours. So keep up with the weather with Owens Corning and Hammond Lumber.
Ice-covered branches crackle in the breeze, threatening to break off like so many others. Fallen trees litter the streets, making a typical neighborhood look like it's been hit by a tornado.
Not that I can remember. I've been around here 47 years, and I don't remember one like this.
Bob Gatcomb is helping a friend who is giving him a warm place to stay.
I got 2 kids in there, and he told me to get my can over here, so here we are.
There's a dangerous situation in almost every neighborhood with cables in the middle of the road and frozen trees on top of power lines.
Now, the problem we have with those lines is that there are just literally multiple trees, major trees down on them.
Dick Brown needs a mallet to chip away all the ice on the lines over the old Branch Pond Road in Ellsworth. It's cold, raining, there's freezing rain too, but the Plymouth, Massachusetts lineman jokes, oh well, I like a little variety. His partner, Kevin Leary, is in pretty good spirits too.
Oh, super mood. Just like to get a few people back, you know. That's what we're hoping for, but I don't think we're going to do it tonight, but we get a lot of work done, preparatory work for tomorrow, you know.
Dick and Kevin are among the COM Electric crews working the Ellsworth area for
Today, Congressman John Baldacci contacted the head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Jamie Lee Witt, the director, and I discussed this. We took it up with the White House later this afternoon.
Storm also played a role in a fire at a Bangor trailer park this morning.
It was pretty easy to tell who did and did not have power today by what folks were putting in their grocery carts.
You know what it is? You don't realize till the storm comes, and then you don't have milk and bread and eggs or whatever it is.
David and Matthew Silla are getting the bare essentials, and they're not alone. For a Friday morning, Shop and Save on Union Street is unusually busy. What do you need batteries for?
I need batteries for a portable radio for the most part and flashlights.
The Kennebec Road in Newburgh this afternoon, the home of Jim and Norma Corliss, burst into flames about 3 o'clock this afternoon. But boy, I tell you what, this is probably going to test what we're made of.
This is a test, but as near as I can tell, we're passing with flying colors right now.
The plow truck came by and plowed me in, so I just figured I'd get it out in the morning, and we came down and trees on my car.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime storm. We hope it's once in a lifetime.
Are you able to get ahead of it at all?
We are not making any forward progress at this stage. We're still trying to hold our own. We've lost a major transmission line going down east.
And that confirmed a report we had earlier in the day. Washington County was cut off.
Along with most of our world Friday night, the crews were trying, but as Bob Briggs said, not a lot of headway on Friday. You could see why on just about any street or road, as Craig Colson discovered.
Plaisted Street is typical of many throughout the state. Damage is everywhere. Downed power lines and plenty of mangled trees. Residents here are keeping their eyes pointed toward the sky. It is dangerous.
It is. It looks like a battle zone. I have said we have a minimum of probably 4 cords of wood down within the neighborhood, being front yards, street, backyards, side yards.
It's going to be that way for a while, too, for the way it looks over here.
Well, yeah, I mean, the hydro people were just here, and I just heard them say they're going to try for, to be around early in the morning.
Emergency crews are working just as fast as they possibly can. The cleanup will take several days.
What kind of day have you guys been putting in?
Rough day.
Rough day?
Very rough day.
Yeah.
The weather, you got to look out for the trees all the time.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. Yes, the past couple of days have been extremely long, and it has really just begun.
Just hang in there, huh?
We can use our flushes. The people in the poor communities that that depend upon wells and pumps, they're really much worse. This is what we've listened to. Yep.
Amazing. Craig, you were obviously out there in the middle of all that reporting. What was it like as a reporter out there?
Well, I'll tell you what, Plaisted Street is a good example of what it was like across the area. One moment I was doing a live shot, and just a few seconds after I went off the air, a giant branch fell right where I was standing.
Dangerous.
It certainly was. Plaisted Street, people were coming out of their homes. It was pitch black, aside from the hydro lights, the little yellow lights on their cars, and the occasional transformer that would blow up, that would light up the sky. But people were going out and surveying the damage as these giant trees that had stood there for decades were just toppling down. And we've heard so much, though, about how people were helping each other, neighbors helping neighbors, and on that street it was a good example of that. People were having potluck suppers by candlelight, of course, and it was just really an experience. I've been doing this for quite a while, and I haven't seen anything like it.
Gives you a good feeling, though.
It really does. You know, along with doing this, you have to remember a lot of the reporters and the hydro crews and everybody else, power was out at their homes too. But
We know what that's like.
Have to keep going.
Thank you, Craig. Don?
Well, it was Friday night, too, that we learned that we were not alone in this either. As the governor urged us to check on our neighbors down the street, we learned our neighbors across the state and across the border were having troubles, too.
Before you turn in tonight, before people turn out the lights and go to bed, think about people in your neighborhood who may be elderly or disabled. Call them up, knock on their door, make sure they're okay.
The neighborhood has really pulled together over the last few days. Jim Garrity and his family gathered together tonight at a neighbor's house for a candle-lit dinner, potluck style. It's an old practice, neighbor taking care of neighbor, and it has worked out quite well so far.
Helping other people, I think, is a big thing.
A brutal winter storm has wound its way throughout the Northeast. Its calling card? Ice. Over an inch thick in Maine. Canadians tuning into CTV watched live as an electrical tower came crashing down during a live broadcast. Ice snapping power lines and ultimately trapping the camera crew at the scene. In Vermont, fingers of ice freeze power lines and make repair work especially dangerous. Downed trees dot now isolated neighborhoods.
Chris Ewing, the storm hit southern Maine first. It hit here. Later in the week, it hit Vermont. And people in Quebec were in even worse shape.
Still, there are some people who were not too far outside the path who experienced little damage. What made it all happen?
Well, it was a very interesting weather pattern, if not bizarre weather pattern, Don. In fact, we've prepared a couple of graphics to show you what happened. We had a Bermuda high, something you might typically find during the summer months, while at the same time we had an Arctic high building across to our north. So in the lowest levels of the atmosphere, Don, we had cold northerly winds draining down, while in the upper levels of the atmosphere, the jet stream, it was pouring that warm tropical air with dew points in the 60s northward. In fact, the jet stream showed that moisture was streaming north across the area, and that allowed for that continuation of the freezing rain around here with very warm conditions just to our south. The areas that were hit the worst were areas just to the southwest of Bangor, an area just away from the coastline, into parts of central Maine, and then up into Quebec and northern Vermont, and right along the immediate coastline. At times it would go back and forth, especially the southwest coast, between rain and freezing rain, so they were spared somewhat that storm. Of course, they got it with the next ice storm shortly thereafter. Don, Mindy?
Remember well. Thanks, Chris. Over the weekend, the sun came out, and although progress was very slow, for the first time, the power companies reported some gains.
On Sunday, the governor came east to fly over that downed Bangor hydro transmission line to Washington County. Channel 5 News was the only Eastern Maine television news organization along on the chopper.
A look back to that icy weekend is just ahead.
I was really impressed how people pulled together, and, you know, just the general cooperation among people, you know.
Focus 5, Maine Under Ice, is brought to you by Hammond Lumber Company, with locations in Auburn, Belgrade, Fairfield, Farmington, Greenville, and Skowhegan. The Comfort Inn Ocean's Edge, Belfast, Maine. By Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle. Don't bring much money, you won't need it. And by Beale College, where careers take root and futures grow.
At Bangor's Big One, Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle, our interest is in your best interest. During Beacon's Great Rate 98, Beacon offers you an unbeatable 1.9% financing on all new Oldsmobiles, including Oldsmobile Cutlass, Intrigue, 88s, Regency, Aurora, Silhouette, and Bravada. 1.9% financing for a limited time only. Hurry, save thousands of dollars in interest charges with 1.9% financing during Beacon's Great Rate 98. Going on now at Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle in Bangor. Don't bring much money, you won't need it.
Penquist Community Action Program, serving families and communities in Maine since 1965. make it happen. The caring people at Penquist Community Action Program.
If you've ever done a building project, you know how easy it is to lose time driving back and forth to the store every time you remember something that you forgot before. Well, the people at Hammond Lumber Company think you should leave the driving to them. Hammond will come straight to your job site, give you a free estimate, and help you plan ahead. Then Hammond will deliver any sizable order free, usually within 24 hours. So when you're building or remodeling, let Hammond Lumber do the driving, and don't you move a doggone inch.
It was bright and sunny as we got up Saturday morning. There were already power crews and tree trimmers everywhere. The mobilized National Guard had roads blocked as they hauled away load after load of fallen limbs and trees. It was Saturday, too, that we learned of the first 2 storm-related deaths. A Waterville man and a Newport man were overcome by fumes from generators. Bangor Hydro was talking about a deal to get that old wood-fired plant in Jonesboro back online to temporarily replace the major transmission line to Washington County. Our world was trying to return to normal.
Stand anywhere in the storm-ravaged areas of Maine and you can hear the destruction. It's that kind of force that the line crews of Bangor Hydro are up against, side by side with their Massachusetts allies, Com Electric. But Hydro officials report that the damage to the major transmission lines is gradually healing. That means that the smaller links to individual neighborhoods and homes will soon become the top priority.
We are really doing the large chunks. Then we go back and then we start doing the individual houses.
There'll be some federal financial assistance in terms of loans to homeowners who may have repairs that they need to do as a result, and also to help all these communities who have racked up thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars statewide in overtime costs for their crews.
There was more help for Bangor hydroelectric crews today. This tree trimming service, working the Route 1A area, joined other crews from Maryland and Massachusetts. And there's plenty of work to go around Hancock County. Wires that deliver electricity have been torn off homes. Tree limbs are still hanging.
You guys have been busy, yeah?
Ellsworth firefighters are giving out water to those who don't have any at home.
Relieve the guys that are tired and so on and so forth was quite difficult. But all in all, we've done well.
Despite having no power and perhaps another night without it, even the youngest person we spoke with has her chin up.
But we can't really complain because we have a wood stove and my brother's assigned to go out and get wood and we've got to...
Well, on Sunday, people all over central, eastern, and coastal Maine continued to try to reassemble their lives as best they could. The governor flew over that downed Bangor Hydro transmission line to Washington County. Dozens of towers went down when the line snapped, nearly 10 miles of line across the Blueberry Barrens near Du Bois. 2 reports tonight from our coverage that Sunday from Craig Colson as people began to put the storm behind them. And first, Alan Grover, who was in Washington County with the governor.
Riding in a Maine Army National Guard helicopter, Governor Angus King got a bird's-eye view of the destruction down east. On Friday night, the oppressive ice had crushed a 10-mile stretch of the power line that feeds Washington County. And with the region's power supply cut off by this wound in the system, the governor decided to pay the stranded downeasters a visit.
I want to see what the situation is, see what they need, talk to the local officials, talk to the emergency management people, communicate back to Augusta.
Meanwhile, the governor headed into Machias, pausing for a status report from citizens and town officials at a temporary shelter set up at a local church.
We got the general working on cots.
That would help. That would be helpful. I think that's what we need for tonight and maybe another night, depending what happens.
Alan Grover, Channel 5 News.
Morning sunlight unveils a true winter wonderland. That's the sound of progress, the world melting its way back to normal. It's hard to believe such beauty could cause so much destruction. But the recovery must begin, and has. Brewer Public Works crews were at Linda Bishop's home bright and early. They brought the National Guard.
I can't even believe it. I just came out and took pictures of it. We didn't think that they'd be over here this soon.
You guys were hit pretty hard by the looks of your tree out there.
Yeah, it hit the house, but fortunately, you know, fell forward, so that didn't do any damage.
Yeah, the cavalry is here, though.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, pretty
Michael Campbell is cleaning his own yard while the kids play nearby. A great day to get out of the house.
Back right in front of me.
How you guys been getting by through all this?
Real good.
Yeah?
We got a home clearing cook stove in the kitchen and been able to cook, eat, hot water, heat, everything.
Just find alternatives, huh?
That's about it.
Yeah.
Oil lanterns, and had neighbors over, and the other night, Thursday, we lost power, and they brought all their food, and we all had a big cookout, more or less. It was
That's what
fun.
it takes, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's fun.
The recovery is expected to last several days, perhaps even weeks to come. That can make even the most simple daily activity a real challenge, like cooking breakfast or handling that ever-growing pile of dirty laundry.
This laundromat was packed today. People getting ready for the work week ahead.
Trying to, but it's kind of packed.
Yeah, no power at the house?
No, stay at my mother-in-law's for now.
Running out of clothes, so you come to the laundromat.
Yeah.
It's getting a little frustrating for you?
Yeah, a little bit. Like to be home. Everybody likes to be home anyway.
That's a lot of water.
Meanwhile, the Harts are restoring their water supply. They've been without power since 1 o'clock Thursday. Those old milk cans are coming in handy.
Well, we have had power outages before, but they've never lasted this long. At least none that we can remember. We've had like a couple of days at a time, but with it, like I say, it has been no big deal because we've had a wood stove and we can keep warm. So that's the main thing, And I have a gas stove so I can cook. So
perseverance. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Waterbed went cold. That's the worst thing.
The waterbed went cold.
Waterbed is cold.
Yeah.
There are a lot of neighbors helping neighbors today. Even the Oriental Jade restaurant is getting involved, providing free meals to service workers like rescue crews and the folks restoring power.
Just feel like this is warm here and they're glad that we're open. So I've been thinking about a crew that they are working around the clock. So we have done a couple of things for them, just invite them to come out, have a break.
Daily life has become a real adventure for thousands of Mainers. It isn't over. Aaron Hart says we should all take it in stride. Or was it go for a slide? Craig Colson, Channel 5 News.
Mainers looked forward to a new week with new hope.
But for many, it was another week in the dark. Frigid temperatures, more setbacks for the power companies.
And another storm-related death when we come back.
Everybody losing power, I felt really guilty because we really didn't lose it for very long, but I just remember a lot of people suffering and some people that I worked for, didn't have power for a long time and had to go to a hotel, and just a lot of bad things happened to a lot of people.
All rooms with spectacular ocean views. An invitation from our indoor pool. Come in or relax in our jacuzzi. Nothing to do but enjoy. The Belfast Comfort Inn. And you. 3 days, 2 nights, only $99. What are you waiting for? The Belfast Comfort Inn. Call us.
Beale College wants committed, mature men and women for their criminal justice program. Focusing on 2 areas, law enforcement and conservation law enforcement, this 2-year program prepares you for a career as a police officer, conservation officer, or game warden. Learn conservation and environmental law, criminal law, and more through classroom courses and field training. Call Beale College today to learn more about their criminal justice program. Beale College, where careers take root. and futures grow.
At Bangor's Big One, Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle, our interest is in your best interest. During Beacon's Great Rate 98, Beacon offers you an unbeatable 1.9% financing on all new Oldsmobiles, including Oldsmobile Cutlass, Intrigues, 88s, Regency, Aurora, Silhouette, and Bravada. 1.9% financing for a limited time only. Hurry, save thousands of dollars in interest charges with 1.9% financing during Beacon's Great Rate 98. Going on now at Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle in Bangor. Don't bring much money. You won't need it.
The deal to use the Indec plant in Jonesboro blew up on Monday. Bangor Hydro officials said they had another plan anyway.
An Oakland man died when he was struck in the head by a tree. The governor sent the formal request for a disaster declaration to the president, and we continued to fight back together.
There are no school announcements on the final report in this sequence because of the report from Mariahville was taped from our news on Monday, January 12th. The school closings are not for tomorrow.
Really a blessing to have it. It beats melting snow, I'll tell you.
60 yards from their house, there's an endless supply of spring water. Water they haven't tapped into for 5 years. All around them, there is free ice for the chipping. And just outside the back door, enough wood to keep their house nice and toasty. When the lights went out, members of the Sardo family all went to the home with the most natural resources.
I think it's, in times of trouble or whatever, everybody seems to pull together quite.
Inside this two-bedroom home on a dead-end road in Herman, a family is coming together quite nicely.
Everybody was chipping in. We all had our jobs.
Tell me what everyone's jobs were.
Well, I told you, I took care of the kids, and the boys, they split the wood, and the girls helped to bring in the wood, and the girls went out and chop the ice.
They've got it down to a science. A car battery powers their TV, sleeping bags keep their waterbed warm, and the wood stove is heating up all their water. 5 kids, 7 grown-ups, making the most of it.
Calls that are not related to storm activity have actually been down over the weekend. That's not to say that we're going to be making some discoveries as people come back into their homes later on, but so far it looks pretty good.
Generators have become about the rarest commodity around.
Number 16!
That's why when Home Depot learned that 2 more truckloads of generators would be arriving, word spread rapidly and the line quickly grew very long.
Oh, what's your number?
72.
Oh, you got to wait ahead of you, huh?
Yeah.
Are you willing to wait all that time?
Yeah, I've been since Wednesday without power, and I've got 3 teenage kids.
Yep, that's Jim Morris back there at the end of the line. No power or heat since Wednesday at the Morris house.
Ice on the tracks is causing a minor backup for trains. At 4 o'clock this morning, a car carrying clay jumped the track just before going over the Route 2 bridge in Herman. According to a spokesperson for the Bangor Aroostook Railroad, this was the result of the recent ice storm.
This ice storm is making many of us more appreciative of the simple things in life like hot water.
I'm at my son's house and doing laundry, and I was at my daughter's in Fairfield having a bath and a shower last night.
But after 4 days without heat or hot water, the lights came on in their neighborhood last night. The first thing Justine and Jamie did was catch up on TV. The Smiths are like lots of other families, relying on each other to get through this tough time.
And the deal we thought we had with the folks from Indec kind of blew up very late this morning when some folks from out of state decided, I'll characterize it personally as thinking that they could gouge, make a little bit of extra money off the citizens of Maine in our emergency crisis.
An 85-year-old mother cannot go to the shelter because she's down with the flu and needs some help with some heat, a kerosene heater, portable in Gardner.
My kids have a great-grandmother that lives in Bucksport on School Street, and she doesn't, she's very stubborn, but she's very elderly. She's like 90 years old, and if somebody could check on her, please, for me.
Radio stations WABI AM, WWBX FM, and WVOM FM have been taking phone calls 24 hours a day since last week's ice storm from people in the dark who are in need or who just have advice for others on how to stay warm.
A lot of people just wanted somebody to talk to. You know, when you're sitting there, and a lot of older people too in some cases, but they just wanted to talk to somebody.
Thank you for calling VOM.
Volunteers have been helping to answer the numerous phone calls that have been pouring in. Listeners are receiving useful information such as how to use kerosene heaters, how to drain your water system, where the nearest shelter is located, and where you can find a generator.
People needed help of various kinds, and by calling us, we could relay the information to people who could supply the help.
Dennis and Ruth Candage are worried the effects of the ice storm could be devastating to their livestock.
We're having problems getting water to them and lights, so we can see it clean out.
Ruth Candage is very worried about her cattle. She and her husband Dennis borrowed a generator from the fire department, hoping to dethaw the animals' drinking water. So far, no luck. Like so many others in West Levant, they haven't had power since Thursday.
We've been just bundling up with coats and blankets and whatever we can find to keep warm with.
Even though Ruth and Dennis are living in a cold house without running water and 4 feet of standing water in their basement, they seem to be more worried about their livestock.
The storm brought 1 foot to 1.5 feet of new snow in parts of northern Maine. Instead of a state
We went through the figures with the governor. They're well over the $1.2 million threshold, $6 million excess, and many more to come. And we need to get this done as soon as possible so that we can begin to get the federal people in here to provide the assistance, to provide the cots, to provide the food and medicine.
Ellsworth, just south of Mariahville, there's electricity and a thank you. Pole by pole, crews are working their way north towards Route 9, the airline. For now, the power line in this section of Mariahville lies in a frozen blueberry field. Crews are drilling through solid ledge to place new poles.
In this case here, it's a disaster for us because we're under pressure and rush, but we're doing all right.
Mariahville fireman Lyman Corson doesn't have power at his house. So today, with some help from his daughter and a friend, the trio find time to deliver coffee to crews working out in the cold.
Everyone's been doing really well with it. They've been calling the fire department if they need water. We've been delivering water. We've been delivering firewood even for those that ran out of firewood.
There's no power at the fire chief's house, but there's a hot wood stove, and luckily most phones are working. Beth Austin says that's been a big help.
Has it brought out the best in people here?
Oh yeah, I haven't seen anybody that's come to the firehouse to get drinking water. They've thanked the fire department members for what they've done, and they haven't been grumpy. They're just coping pretty well, and when we get power, we get power.
That last report was taped from our news Monday night, January 12th. The no school announcements again are not for tomorrow. Incidentally, you may not have heard the story, or you may have heard it, but if you haven't, the linemen from Massachusetts who were helping out in Mariahville were so impressed by the spirit of the people, they took up a collection amongst themselves. $300 has been passed along to help a family in Otis and a family in Mariahville recover from the storm, thanks to those workers from Massachusetts.
Well, the president signed that disaster declaration on Tuesday, making 15 of our 16 counties disaster areas at that point. Businesses and municipalities were eligible to apply for assistance then. Still over 250,000 people without power on Tuesday. More than 100 shelters remained open. Mainers, though, were coming through for their neighbors.
I'd be stuck in my driveway and I would be unbathed for over almost a week now.
If someone didn't come to your rescue.
That's right. So, yeah, we have a lot of great neighbors. People are all over the place.
I am very grateful that you were able to help Laney out.
Yeah.
I have to sit so close to
Yeah,
her.
thanks, Jim. An army of volunteers is making sure their neighbors don't go hungry. The Bucksport Community Concerns Organization is stepping up their effort to get food out to those who desperately need it. What would you do without this place and their help?
I'd probably go hungry.
Really?
Yes.
Lisa Hunt just got power back to her home, but it wasn't in time to save her food.
They're without power. They've lost what food they have in their refrigerators, and hopefully not in their freezers, but possibly. They have nothing.
Red Cross said they've made a tremendous effort. The Maine National Guard coming through again.
Security, medical people provided us with transportation resources. At one point, the people hadn't been able to get hot showers, so they've provided us with a bus so we can take people to another building and make sure they get a hot shower.
We pretty much lost everything in the freezer. We fed most of our food to the dogs. We didn't want it to go to waste.
Reagan Young and his wife work hard to keep their family off food stamps. They stock their freezer with food to keep them eating through the winter. But with no electricity for days, the Youngs' stockpile is all gone.
If you get food stamps, they give you more food stamps because of this. If you got house insurance, you can get it covered on that, but some of us in between can't get the house insurance because we're trying to keep off the food stamps and all.
It's surprising how quickly things have settled down at the Marshall Healthcare Facility in Machias. That's what Director Peter Marshall tells us.
The one key is that everybody acted with a sense of duty, a responsibility to the people who lived here.
Marshall credits his staff for getting through the crisis. Workers like Don Chandler, who hasn't had power for nearly a week at home and just lost a freezer full of food.
It has been tough. We've been worried about the kids and the animals and our pipes, but we're sticking through it.
It's just what needs to be done.
In this old farmhouse on the hill in Monroe, the Llewellyns have been busy cooking up a storm.
More ice tonight. And
with both heat and a gas stove, Dana knew that they were the lucky ones in town.
There are folks that can't get out. There are folks that have run out of food. And they're the folks that need to be served in this community.
And that's where Dana, her full pantry, and her big heart came into play.
Dana and her family cooked chicken to serve 24 people, delivered it, and then volunteers took it. They also took other items and went house to house and served a hot meal.
People need to stay healthy through all of this. They can't live on potato chips and soda pop.
Thanks to the farmers on the hill, residents who are without are being blessed by the generosity of those who have a little extra to spare. Bethany Howard, Channel 5 News, Monroe.
As we approached midweek, more than 100,000 homes were still without power and predictions of sub-zero temperatures.
The Vice President came to the state to see the damage for himself. We'll have details on that, his visit, and more when we come back.
I think probably it's being out of our home for us.
For how long?
5 nights.
Panquist Community Action Program, serving families and communities in Maine since 1965. We make it happen. The caring people at Panquist Community Action Program.
All rooms with spectacular ocean views. An invitation from our indoor pool. Come in or relax in our jacuzzi. Nothing to do but enjoy. The Belfast Comfort Inn. And you. 3 days, 2 nights, only $99. What are you waiting for? The Belfast Comfort Inn. Call us.
At Bangor's Big One, Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle, our interest is in your best interest. During Beacon's Great Rate 98, Beacon offers you an unbeatable 1.9% financing on all new Oldsmobiles, including Oldsmobile Cutlass, Intrigues, 88s, Regency, Aurora, Silhouette, and Bravada. 1.9% financing for a limited time only. Hurry, save thousands of dollars in interest charges with 1.9% financing during Beacon's Great Rate 98. Going on now at Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle in Bangor. Don't bring much money. You won't need it.
There were still more than 100,000 homes without power on Wednesday the 14th, and Chris Ewing was talking about sub-zero temperatures. The line crews, the tree crews, the National Guard working practically around the clock. Senator Olympia Snowe passed through Washington County that day. It was the day, too, the federal inspectors arrived to take a look for themselves.
Congressman John Baldacci led 2 representatives from the Federal Emergency Management Agency on a tour of Bangor streets today. It was their first peek at the problem since President Clinton declared Maine a disaster area.
Very long days. We've been working until 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Starting when?
They want us up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Workers from Lucas Tree experts have been traveling from pole to pole checking for downed branches. No easy feat, especially today, the wind chill temperature dropping as low as 40 below.
I haven't dressed any different except for this outer suit. Usually I just have this.
In Machias, Paul Thompson of the Washington County Emergency Management Agency briefed the senator. Thompson says the biggest problem now is that more high-powered portable generators are needed down in Washington County.
The key now is to know what problems still exist, what we can do to help to expedite the restoration of power in any way possible.
A cold side road in Washington County finds 9 guardsmen and a local woodsman with plenty of work. They're clearing the falling debris along one of the many power lines that needs attention. This unit was called in from Aroostook County.
Oh, it's terrible.
This is one of 10 guard units working down east today. Others are doing everything from delivering water door to door to clearing debris along the vital power line that feeds Washington County. National Guard crews will be back out here tomorrow, and another flight is scheduled to help assess the damage. Jeffrey Hope, Channel 5 News, Dennisville.
On Thursday, Vice President Al Gore came to Maine to see the damage for himself. At a briefing in Augusta, the Vice President extended federal disaster assistance to individuals. He arrived with a feeling of assurance and the power to get things done. Vice President Al Gore landed at the Augusta State Airport just before 11 o'clock this morning in a Guard helicopter. The Vice President and Governor Angus King, who rode along, saw the damage from a bird's eye view before they landed to get a closer look.
Do you have enough personnel?
It was a meeting that got straight to the point. As soon as Vice President Al Gore took a seat in the hearing room, Maine's various emergency management officials offered briefings on storm damage.
You wanted to design this perfect storm to take out the electrical system of an entire state. This was it.
The Vice President brightened the gloomy outlook by announcing $28 million in housing and urban development assistance for Maine. Also, there will be a moratorium on housing foreclosures during the crisis, and low-interest loans will become available for businesses hit by the storm.
We do it not only because it's good for you, but you know, the sooner Maine is back on its feet, the stronger our country is. It's just a basic philosophical principle. It's part of the glue that binds us together as a nation.
Another important development in the relief effort.
I would like to request at this moment the declaration of a disaster area for the next level, which is individual federal aid for homeowners and individuals.
Approved.
From here, the Vice President headed to the Lewiston area to survey more of the storm damage, destruction that Gore compared to the effects of a neutron bomb. Alan Grover, Channel 5 News.
And once again, this is the number to call to begin the process if you need assistance. 1-800-462-9029. With us now is Rob Roberts from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. The amazing thing is, you're still getting 1,600 calls a day?
Yes, on Monday we had over 1,600 calls to our registration line. We've had over 25,000 calls so far.
Wow, what are most of the things that folks are asking for assistance?
Well, we're seeing everything from serious damage caused by trees falling on houses to people calling up to see if they can get help with additional expenses they incurred because of the storm.
Yeah, for example, I've heard a lot of folks have water damage, things like that now because of ice on the roofs. Is that a possibility to also get that covered?
Right. A common misconception is that unless you've had serious damage, you probably won't be eligible for disaster assistance. But we're urging anyone who's had any sort of damage to call and find out if they will be eligible. And there is help available if you expect problems down the line. Call now and register, get yourself within the system, and you can call back if you suffer water damage in the future.
And there are so many places to go around Maine, too. I believe we have some of those places on a list right there, all over the place. Right. There's help available, right?
There's 7 disaster recovery centers throughout the state, and if you applied and you need help, stop by and they can give you answers.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a saving grace for a lot of folks here in Maine.
Thanks.
Thank you. Don?
Well, when we come back tonight, we're going to talk with Bob Briggs, the president of Bangor Hydroelectric Company.
And also a very heartwarming story about a line worker and his family and how they all pulled together.
Being without power with a 16-year-old at home.
How long were you out?
5 days.
Beale College wants committed, mature men and women for their criminal justice program. Focusing on 2 areas, law enforcement and conservation law enforcement, this 2-year program prepares you for a career as a police officer, conservation officer, or game warden. Learn conservation and environmental law, criminal law, and more through classroom courses and field training. Call Beale College today to learn more about their criminal justice program. Beale College, where careers take root and futures grow.
At Bangor's Big One, Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle, our interest is in your best interest. During Beacon's Great Rate 98, Beacon offers you an unbeatable 1.9% financing on all new Oldsmobiles, including Oldsmobile Cutlass, Intrigue, 88s, Regency, Aurora, Silhouette, and Bravada. 1.9% financing for a limited time only. Hurry, save thousands of dollars in interest charges with 1.9% financing during Beacon's Great Rate 98. Going on now at Beacon Cadillac Olds Jeep Eagle in Bangor. Don't bring much money. You won't need it.
Whether the weather is hot or it's not, the people at Hammond Lumber Company and the Owens Corning Company can help you keep up. With special services from Hammond and fiberglass insulation from Owens Corning, Hammond offers free estimating and expert design help, plus a huge inventory of Owens Corning and free delivery of your order, usually within 24 hours. So keep up with the weather with Owens Corning and Hammond Lumber.
Penquist Community Action Program, serving families and communities in Maine since 1965. We make it happen. The caring people at Penquist Community Action Program.
Never in the history of our state, and it's very possible that no state has ever had such a large percentage of its population affected by anything like the ice storm of 1998. The time when the standard greeting became, "Got your power back yet?"
And it seemed every house around them had power. They felt like they had been deserted.
It was like every 3 hours or so, let's go out and see what's happening.
So today she went down the road to see if any progress had been made, 9 days after the darkness took over.
He says that it might be a half hour to an hour before we get the power. So it's even better than 2 hours.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
Central Maine Power says when they added them all up, 340,000 of their customers lost power. More than half of Bangor Hydro's customers were out, 78,000 plus. Very likely more than 800,000 people were in the dark, some for many, many days. In all, close to 570 miles of wire and cable needed to be replaced. Nearly 3,000 poles, 2,000 transformers. An army of more than 4,000 people worked to clear away the limbs and get us back online.
Bob Briggs is president of Bangor Hydro. We talk about numbers like that. Your people, the people at Central Maine Power, really completed the impossible.
It really was quite an effort, and I'm exhausted just watching this tape while in the break here. It was quite an effort.
What an incredible... What kind of shape are you in now, Bob? You must have had to Band-Aid some stuff together. So what happens if we get another storm now?
Oh, I think we've been able to pretty much make fairly permanent repairs almost everywhere. There might be a few places where there's a little bit of a Band-Aid, but those places will be cleaned up, and I don't think they're terribly vulnerable any more than usual to another storm.
We don't have to be afraid of that. What kind of a mess did you have to leave? There must be wire out there and stuff under the snow to be cleaned up this spring.
I know there's some places where there's materials to be cleaned up, but mostly we got it. We got most of it.
Update the status on that transmission line in Washington County.
Well, I'm pleased to report that the progress on that has been really great. It has to be some kind of record to build a line that fast, but it's almost complete now, and with if we have any luck, by the first of the week, of next week, that line will be back in service.
I've got about 20 seconds. Two accusations that I heard. I'll give you a chance to publicly answer them. One, if you'd have trimmed trees better in the summertime, you'd been better prepared, you could have prevented this.
We've had a very aggressive trimming budget over the years and spent a lot of money on it, and even though we've had other difficulties, we haven't backed away from our trimming budget.
And the poles down through Washington County were rotted out and should have been replaced a long while ago.
That line was regularly inspected. The poles were in fine shape. There were poles over the years that have had to have maintenance by way of being braced up with a stub pole braced next to them. Everything was fine.
Bob, thank you very much.
All right.
Congratulations to your folks. I mean, they are giants in everybody's eyes.
Well, we say congratulations to our customers.
Thank you.
They certainly worked hard. Before we close tonight, we'd like to thank all of you, to the wonderful people who have contributed to the Good Neighbor Fund.
Can't give you the names of the people you have helped, but for obvious reasons, but we can tell you that your kindness is certainly helping and is very much appreciated.
If you haven't had a chance to join the Good Neighbor Fund effort yet, please write a check tonight and mail it to the Good Neighbor Fund, Post Office Box 1162, Bangor, Maine 04402. Every penny will go to our neighbors who have serious needs after the storm and have nowhere else to turn.
Fund is being administered by the community action programs in our region of the state. We would remind anyone who is still in need and still struggling to rebound from the storm, call one of these numbers for help.
And one more thing, for all the people who have asked, we are making copies of tonight's program available on videotape. Send a check or money order for $10 to Ice Storm Tape here at WABI TV, 35 Hildreth Street, Bangor, Maine, 04401.
There were so many wonderful stories in our coverage during the ice storm that we looked at and talked about. We wish we could include them all in this hour, but obviously we can't. There is one that kind of stuck out in our minds, possibly because it's symbolic of the hundreds of people who practically gave up their lives to get our lives back to normal. People who stayed out in all that weather, climbing icy poles to wrestle with frozen wires and limbs to get our power back on. On the 14th, Craig Colson visited with the O'Connell family in Brewer.
Oh, it's been crazy. I mean, as far as home life, I mean, you forget the home life, and you'll finish one street and then go around the corner and it's like, oh my God, look at all the wire and trees. Oh no. Yeah. You start all over again.
That's the kind of week it has been for Kevin O'Connell. He's one of the Bangor Hydro crews working around the clock to get the lights back on. Working 30 hours straight one day, perhaps just 16 the next. All the while anticipating the precious little time he'll spend with his family waiting at home.
Yeah, I might get to see him for a half hour out of the day, you know. Say, hi, how you doing? How's your day? I gotta go to bed.
Yeah. Hit the road again when you wake up.
Right.
The electricity seemed like such a minor thing when he's out there. That's all.
Julie has been holding down the fort, keeping the home warm and the kids busy, and of course, worrying about her husband.
You just put on a brave front and just keep going. It works until they get older.
Sarah, Jessica, and Kyle all know how important their dad's job is. However, it doesn't make it any easier when it's time for him to climb back on the truck.
I miss him quite a lot of the time, and he works really hard and he loves his job and he's helping other people, and that's all that matters. I've been afraid that he would get hurt. Yeah. And I want to be a hydro-me when I grow up.
Who knows when Kevin will be home this time? One of the many heroes helping to return our lives to normal. Craig Colson, Channel 5 News, Brewer.
Proud of him and his job.
I think that says it all. I'm Don Colson. Thanks.
And I'm Mindy Hageman. Good night from Channel 5 News.